Hello, everyone. I am Dana Abercrombie over at the Koalition, and I am here starting with I screwed up the entire opening, but it's okay. Welcome to the Loki, I guess, spoiler cast at this point. The Loki spoiler cast, where we're going to break down all the episodes, episode 2, and give our thoughts and Easter eggs and surprises. So I am your host, Dana Abercrombie. I am joined by Mr. Carlos Romero,
Yo, 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 what's going on, everyone?
Mr. Richard Negron,
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Mr. Tony Palanco,
What is going on, people?
and Mr. Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Okay, now this is the episode that I was saying you guys should have just got, the first 2 episodes, because that way it would have had some kind of excitement and Tony wouldn't look so bored and sad. This one is basically, it's called The Variant, but this is how we open the entire multiverse. This is when things is about to go completely awry. And just really quickly, give your thoughts about the second, episode. Starting with you, Chris.
I thought this one was better than the first one. So the groundwork was laid out. I liked some of the mystery stuff they were doing, and I like that Loki tried a trick and failed at the Renaissance fair. I like that scene. I love the Pompeii scene was hilarious, and the last 15 minutes was a very crucial part of the story. It's a big revelation. Also, the biggest fake hurricane I've ever seen, and I've watched The Day After Tomorrow. I swear that storm was worse than anything in that movie. I was like, Jesus, what these poor people. But it was a good episode, and it definitely sets up a huge series of events. I won't say one event because lots of stuff happened. So I'm now very invested to see how that gets resolved. And I won't. I'll continue my thoughts after that because I don't want to say too much right now. But very very good episode.
By the way, Dana, you're
You're
muted.
Sorry. How about you, Ricardo?
Oh yeah, this is pretty much what you said, that we were gonna see a lot more things uh, set in motion in this episode, and we got to see what the variant looks like, and uh, just the dialogue was interesting between Loki, and the variant, and just the way Loki was like had me questioning, like, is he really like trying to scheme something with the variant or against the variant? I wasn't really sure what his motives were, where his motives were, and that's part of the intrigue with him. It's like trying to find out was he really after. So, but yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like, especially like that latter portion of the episode is what really hooked me. So.
How about you, Mr. Palanco?
Yeah, definitely better than the first one. You guys already know I was not really feeling the first one. Like, what is going on here? What's the point of this? This one, like, you really see like the main, I wouldn't call it the main story, like finally move forward. And I like the fact that I think we're gonna get into it more later, like the way Loki was like, kind of coming up with solutions to everything. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you're always like, hold on, this motherfucker's a trickster, man. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool having a main character that you can't trust because he's scheming something. And then we kind of do see that by the end. But yeah, overall, good episode. And again, there's a couple little things I want to ask about, but overall, definitely a lot more enjoyable than the first one.
Mr. Romero?
So I was highly anticipating this episode, especially because Dana told us last week about how this is a step forward and a progression from the previous episode. And Chris actually after Throwdown told us, he's like, oh, I watched episode 2 and it's pretty interesting. I have my theories. So I was really intrigued, and yeah, it lived up to the expectations. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought this was leaps and bounds. Well, not leaps and bounds. It was significantly better than the first episode, even though I did enjoy the first episode as well.
Mhm.
I just, this one felt more like, okay, we kind of get what the pacing of this story is going to be in terms of, where everything's going, how everything's being set up. Seeing Detective Loki is pretty cool, and a lot of funny moments, like going to the library and getting rejected for everything except for his files. The ending was awesome. Just seeing the dynamics between all the characters. I do have a theory, and I guess we'll talk about this later, but I do have one theory, and it kind of gets philosophical, and I really enjoy that this show is making me, come up with a lot of philosophical, questions, about the universe and about what these characters do. So I'm looking forward to talking about those later on in the show. But yeah, overall, really good episode. Really enjoyed it, and can't wait for the next.
Awesome. I'm excited because I'm like, yay, this is amazing. And no one knew what I was talking about. And you guys seemed so deflated in the previous episode that I was like, please just hang on and it's going to be all right. So for this episode, basically it starts off with the evil Loki. There's the evil Loki variant that's running around in 1984. I think it was 1985. Sorry, 1985.
85, yeah.
And we saw that they was at the carnival. What was it, like the Renaissance Fair?
Yes, a red fair, yeah.
It's the Renaissance Fair, and the TVA is trying to hunt down this Loki variant. And Loki is able to slip away. Sorry. Is able to. It's weird. Loki is able to use use his powers, her whatever powers, to kind of possess. I guess possess would be the right word. Possess other people, and to act, making them act how they want to. And so we see that there is a variant, not a variant, a TVA member who is played by Sasha Lane. And she is basically under mind control, and she revealed all of the information of where the timekeepers or where the TVA members is going to be. It's a lot
I
of
call them the time gods, but I know that's not right.
See, I thought the time gods was like the three guys that people are associating with Kang. No?
Let's not jump ahead because the show hasn't even brought up Kang yet.
Well, I just meant like what I said people are associated. I didn't say the show.
All right. I just want to make sure we don't start jumping onto other people's
No.
You know what I'm saying, like their conclusions or theories or whatever,
No. We're not going to do that. So basically, we have that, and she's being controlled, and we know every time that they're trying to chase down this variant, they keep losing, and it's just not good. And this Loki variant has different powers than the Loki that we know, which is kind of important because each Loki, as we find out, will have its own set of abilities, and there's shared abilities as well. But anyway, it seems that the like I was saying, this ends up leading to Loki being the only one who can kind of catch a Loki. And so Owen Wilson, Mobius, realizes that he has to actually turn to him and get some help out of this whole situation. And so Loki essentially opens the file where he is trying to learn more about what's happening in, I guess, the universe, and also trying to find out where this Loki would be hiding, and discovers that it's inside of every kind of apocalypse that happens in the MCU and also in our world, like shared events, such as we end up with Pompeii, for example. And so he tests the theory and says that, he's hanging out in, in a location where an apocalypse is about to happen. And no matter how many times he tries to disrupt what's going on, he'll never be discovered by the TVA because that apocalypse is supposed to happen. I hope I'm right about that. There's a lot of different theories.
He used Ragnarok as an example.
Right.
And he noticed in the file it said 0 variance energy. And that's the thing they see on their little Pip-Boy is the graph that goes off to the red line. So anytime there's variance in the timeline, this thing spikes. So he said if you kill someone or do something in an apocalyptic event, it doesn't matter. Time doesn't notice, so you guys won't see it. And then he proves it by going to Pompeii and messing with everyone and telling them they're going to die. And then the volcano erupts and he's like, see? And Owen Wilson's looking at the thing and it's not moving, right? So he proved it.
And this kind of leads to an overall question about free will and, the existence of the sacred timeline and whether or not wiping it out is even a possibility. hopefully.
Well, that's what so if we want to get to my theory,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's essentially based on that. So, and you got, I mean, here's the thing, just to give context to people that are listening and watching, I don't read the comics. I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't even watch videos on this because I know people that are more nerdier than me like to gush about what happens in the comics. So they kind of spoil stuff that's going to happen in the future if it follows sort of what they're doing on storylines in the comics. So I don't really like to listen to that. So just to give context, so I want to give a theory, and it might be stupid, but my feeling is, and we had this conversation the other day about free will and predetermined outcomes, and how I think it's kind of BS in stories. Like I thought it was BS on Arrival. I thought it was BS in here. So what I'm thinking is Loki or the Lokis or the Loki, whatever they're called. I think they're kind of they obviously think the same, and I think they're thinking about overthrowing the time gods or whatever, because I think the time gods are the ones that are negating free will to people by having the sacred timeline. So my guess is that they're trying to f up, all the time variants and the TVA as part of that, so people can have their free will and not a predetermined apocalypse or timeline or Avengers beating Thanos and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my theory on this, and I don't know, what you guys think.
But with that same theory, wouldn't that negate the fact that we end up at the end with the woman who is saying we don't want to team up with you. I don't care anything about the time gods, and then just bouncing
Which woman?
at the end. Only one woman.
Loki, the female Loki?
Yeah, female Loki.
No, I think she cares. I think she so she disrupted all the timelines, and all of the TVA people just went into all the timelines to try to fix whatever the hell is going on over there. And I think what she's doing, I think she's teleporting straight to the home base. And I think she's gonna try to, I don't know, see the time gods or do something that messes them up. I think that's what she's gonna try to do. And I think that's what and Loki, our Loki and MCU Loki, I think what his conclusion is kind of the same as hers. And I think they see like the same thing, and that's why he's going to that same spot, because he's came to that same conclusion that she did, but much later.
Huh. Any other thoughts? Anyone else?
Well, okay, I'll just throw this out there. I don't think that's Loki.
The
Female
female
Loki.
Loki.
I think it's Enchantress because because yeah, I'll just throw it out there. Enchantress is the one who manipulates people's minds in the Marvel comics. Loki manipulates people by he talks. He likes to talk. He doesn't get into people's brains, right? Notice how this female Loki touches people's minds, and even he calls it out in when they get to the rocks cart, whatever that is, like a Walmart, right?
Yeah.
They get there at the end. He goes, "Oh, he's like, you use an enchantment." He says it, and he even says when she starts tossing him around, it's like, "I wouldn't treat me like this." Like he calls it out. I was like, "Well, because that's not him, right? It's not even a variant of him." And the way she speaks to him is not the way he talks back to her. Somebody would be trying to imitate him if it was like a duplicate. Even if it was a variant, it would talk somewhat like him, but it doesn't. She doesn't have the mannerisms or the dialect that he does, and then talking through other people is not how he operates. So that led me to believe, okay, everything leads. And then when she took the cloak off, and I was like, okay, yeah, all right, it's Enchantress. I get what's going on here. And also, she doesn't seem to want to take over the TVA. She seems to want to destroy the timeline or create what was earlier. They said if the sacred timeline breaks up, you get um multiple timelines, and there'll be a time war or something. So it's basically just chaos. Like that's what she's trying to do, which is not what he's trying to do, which is interesting.
And also the people in Spain with their credits. They got spoiled. The MCU just like flat out said, that's Sylvie, and Sylvie is Enchantress.
Hmm.
Uh-oh.
There we
Oh, that is
go.
interesting.
And
There we
remember,
go.
I did not
but
know that.
another theory could be, remember when they did that with the closed captions for WandaVision and said that was the Peter Evans from the MCU, and then
Yeah.
as we all learned, Ralph Boner, it was not. So it could be a misdirect, or they could just literally just stuff it in there. So who
Hmm.
knows? The exact same way they just released the trailer over in, I think it was Spain, for the Spider-Man through, what was the next Spider-Man one, and it
Yeah.
glitched just like it did when they did Into the Spider-Verse. So
Interesting.
it could be a misdirect, or it just could be literally what it's stating.
So I
Right.
have a question for Chris.
Yeah.
So you think that if she is Enchantress, she's trying to uh disturb the timeline, but what is her like, is her end goal just to disturb the timeline, or is there something more to that?
Well, there is, because remember, okay, so when the TVA went into the Ren Fair and
Mhm.
she killed them except for the one, she kidnapped them and took the
Yeah.
reset charges. Remember the music that was playing? It was playing
Oh
"I
no.
Need a Hero,"
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Oh, okay,
That's
okay,
not
okay.
that's not talking about the TVA. They see it's a very subtle storytelling trick. Who is the real villain of this story? Now we're led to believe that she's the villain, right? Well, we don't know what she's doing. We don't understand it. So I'm thinking the song was about her, and that maybe the real villain is the timekeepers. We don't know who they are. We never see them. Loki even brings up to Mobius like, "Hey, you believe all this stuff? Like these these
Yeah.
these space lizards are, and it's like it's he's like, it's just as silly as believing gods, right? It's so, what are they fighting for? Who created the TVA? We don't know. Is it three space lizards? Is it something else? You don't know. So you don't know who's everything's ambiguous. We don't know who's the good guys here.
Right.
So that's where I think she's either fighting for another cause for someone else, but she may not be the villain. And then disrupting the timeline may actually be beneficial in some ways. We don't know.
Right. Well, she
Yeah.
was technically created as a tool for chaos by Loki.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, but yeah. So all I know so far is, based on what I've seen, how she behaves, the spells she's using. Also, female Loki has always been represented with black hair. It's always had
Yeah.
jet black hair. So if it was female Loki, it would also have jet black hair, right? She has blonde hair, exactly, and Enchantress sort of had a big headpiece, not with horns specifically, but the horns don't matter. It's the behavior, the enchantment spells, and the way she fights versus the way he fights. He likes stabbing weapons. Mobius tried to give him the knives, and the other cop took them away. And he always used knives in the movies, and stabbing weapons. And he can use magic. He dries himself. He also pulls something off the shelf to fight her with. She doesn't do that. She just uses other people to fight for her. So very interesting. Their tactics are totally different.
Well, I will have to say though, Loki did use other people to fight for him in Avengers. Um,
No, but
did
that's when he had the staff. When he had the staff that
right.
could mind control people, when it had the mind gem core in it, that's how he was doing that. He doesn't have that anymore. This the female Loki, quote unquote, it's just Enchantress. She's
It's
touching
Enchantress,
people's,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's using just her hands to do it. She just puts the spell on them, and also Enchantress also wore green in the
Yeah,
comics. They
and she
both
glows
wear
green
green,
when she used it, when she used her magic
right?
Yeah.
thing.
I want to say something real quick. And this is why I don't like going to other sources for this stuff. Like, that's not any of her names. What the hell did the Spanish people call her? Like, that's not even
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
her
Yeah,
name
I
is
think it's
Amora. Her name is
Amora.
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
Amora. That's not yeah, that's not her name, you
So,
know. So again, that's why I discount that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Chris, I didn't think about it, but I agree 100%. I think that's Enchantress because her power set is very different than Loki's. So I agree with that. And I'm also thinking about this because they believe it's a variant of Loki, but I'm wondering, is her Asgardian like nature fooling the sensors or whatever the hell they're using to detect the variants, but then again, she could be doing something to make them think it's Loki, because you're right, because when I saw her, I'm like, hold on, why is her hair blonde? It's like it's supposed to be black. She's supposed to literally look like a female Loki,
Right.
the horns were kind of throwing me off a little bit. I was like, oh, what's with the horns though, because Enchantress doesn't have horns. But I can see it. But here's the thing. In the comics, right, it's sometimes she does, but very rarely does she do things on her own. She's always kind of working with someone or for someone. So I agree with the consensus that this is not her plot, whatever the hell the plot is, and I don't feel comfortable speculating on what it could be. It's too early to tell. But I just based off the comics, she usually works with somebody or for someone. So I think there's another bigger player behind the scenes, and what their ultimate goal is. If I do indulge in some sort of, maybe it is Kang, but I don't want to go there yet. We haven't gotten that at the moment, but I'm going to go with that. And there's definitely a larger scheme going on. That's not just like she's the main villain. I said no. She is working for somebody else, and we've yet to see who that is, and whatever their plan is. I think it goes beyond just destruction. I think it's something else entirely. But of course, we have to see how Loki schemes, because my man's scheming. So we have to see how his schemes are going to intertwine with this other person's schemes, and how that other person's schemes are going to intertwine with Loki's schemes. Because remember, these are Asgardians in the end. They're not straight players. They're always up to something. Even the most dim-witted of Asgardians always has something an ulterior motive. So we have to see how that all plays out. So, and that's partly why I like this episode, because now we're seeing like the bigger picture opening up, instead of just like, oh, somebody's messing up time, we got to stop them. It's like, no, they got this bigger thing going on. So yeah, I'm with you 100%, Chris. That's Enchantress 100%.
But also, the alter ego that she had was Sylvie Lushton in the Young Avengers.
Yeah, okay, that's one of them. But her main name is Amora or Amara.
You how it all connects to Amora the Enchantress, and her alter ego was Sylvie Lushton.
All right, fair enough.
It's basically, it's almost her. Then you have the connection to Young Avengers, which we know is a series they're working on, and also Secret War. She was part of Secret Wars, which we also know they're working on as well. It's a secret. So
Which Secret Wars, the original or the new one? Because there were two Secret Wars in Marvel. There was one in 1985, which this episode took place in 1985, or the Secret Wars from 2015. Yeah, 2015. All right, yeah.
So she's in 2015 with Malachi and them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I thought all this was. Sorry.
No, go.
Yeah, no, just interesting hearing everyone's theories and whatever. I've known that from the very first episode. I thought there was something really sketchy about TVA. They come off as like the establishment, and it seems like there's something off about the way they're operating. Going into the whole free will thing and what have you. And I was getting this sense that like the TVA and the timekeepers and all that they're the real villains in all this, and that's something that we'll maybe we'll find out as this goes along. But yeah, I do like the observations you guys made, particularly that Lady Loki's appearance doesn't really resemble what you would expect from a Loki, and it makes sense that she would be Enchantress as a result of that. So I'm operating on that assumption as well as you guys, that's Enchantress, and then it's just a matter of what's her end game here, and that's something that I'm very interested to see.
Am I the only one who thought the TVA was a cult? Because it seems cultish.
Nah, they definitely have some powers. It's not just
sure, because they're worshiping three-headed gods, and then they're running around and
are they really worshiping them? It seems like they're just working for them, and I don't really consider them gods. They're just higher beings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in that sense, yes, they could be considered gods by us mortals, but I'm like, to me, they're just aliens of another sort. And maybe it's just my perception of cults. I always seen cults as like small, like little groups, led by a crazy person. So this seems pretty organized, and they have like control over all the space and time. So I don't think it's a cult. It's definitely a big organization.
Well, it's more difficult than that, because they even mentioned in this episode that they were created specifically for this purpose.
Yeah,
they're not people born out of from evolution.
Yeah.
they came up to the conclusion that there's a god. These guys were specifically made for this purpose. So there is a divine being and a someone that made them. So yeah, I guess a cult might not be the best way to put it. I think because their god actually does exist.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's
Right.
like it's kind of like us, right? We don't know where we came from, but like an artificial thing knows exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. But I thought that was a really cool, interesting thing. It's like Owen Wilson and all these other people, they're just created specifically for this task. So and I did like that scene where he explained this to Loki. Loki like, man, you're full of shit. That sounds insane. It's like, bro, you're the son of Odin, bro. Like, come on now.
No, he was like,
Or
he
he's
was the ice
adopted
god.
son.
He
Yeah,
was
it's like,
he was the son of an ice god, adopted by Odin
yeah, it's like, bro, come on now.
from
Which sounds crazier, you know? So that was pretty fun.
Were there any other memorable moments for you guys
Um,
or dislikes?
just the fact that Mobius is, they're when he's in that room. I forgot her name. The sort of more the higher up lady.
Yeah.
So when he's talking to her, and it's like, oh, like asking about the time gods and how he's kind of dubious about everything, and he's always been like a rebel, and that's why he relates a lot to Loki. So I'm wondering, obviously he's not going to be a bad guy, Mobius. So at least for me, from the way we're
I don't know
perceiving,
about that, bro.
well, from someone that's pretty ignorant about everything other than these 2 episodes, he seems like like someone that's might be a good guy. But I think I'm with you, with all of you. The time gods are bad people. I think that's I think that's the most obvious part of this whole show. It's like I think those are totalitarian beings that want to control every single aspect of human or existence. And
By the way, I want to go on record. I don't think I'm not jumping to that conclusion yet. That they're evil. I'm not jumping to that conclusion yet because maybe you need some kind of god to maintain that. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they're just. I kind of see them. I could be wrong. I kind of see them as a force of nature. They just exist and they need to exist. It's just like a storm or something. Hey, a storm happens. It happens.
That's a good point. I think a better way to perceive it is I think the way that we as an audience will perceive the time gods and the way they act, for the most part, is evil.
Okay, that's fair.
Because we, for example, us that we're watching this show, it's like we obviously, I think most of us, believe in free will or believe that that we have the ability to change the future, and it's not a predetermined, life. And I think and by the way, the time gods making everything predetermined by having the sacred timeline, I think that's a way to perceive that they do not allow for beings to do as they wish.
Yeah. I mean, their entire history is just made up by them, right? We're supposed to believe the little animation. There was a time war, and they came along, and it's like, oh, we'll put everything right and combine the timelines. Who said there was a time war? Why should I believe this clock face bitch? I don't know her. It's like, so they make up their history and you're supposed to believe it. And they come down and they take you out of the timeline. They put you in front of a kangaroo court to get judged if you committed time crimes or whatever. And like okay, remember in the last episode there was a guy ahead of Loki and he didn't have a ticket for the judge, and the guy just vaporized him. I'm like, for what? Because he didn't have a ticket and he mouthed it off. Isn't he supposed to be important? Does he play some role? I thought it was sacred, right?
Great fucking point.
Yeah, no, they just killed him. He's done.
Yeah.
So it could be all bullshit. We don't. Could there be 3 space lizards? Could be 6. Could be 1. Could be 0. We don't know. For all I know, Ricardo put Ravona. Is that her name? Like, she could be in charge for all I know. Could be the freaking clock. Could be Tara Strong. Maybe she's in charge. I don't know. It's just it's all like it's all dressing, right? We don't know exactly what's going on, but what's on its face, it seems very sketchy. And as we go along, there's more and more stuff you have to question, and you have to question, like, okay, yeah, like Tony said, Enchantress doesn't work for herself. Like, she's not deciding to disrupt time because she felt like it, right? So she's working for someone, but why do it? Why? So at the end of the episode, she sets off like 100 reset charges and puts them in different, not just different points in time, but in space. And you see the TV monitor in the TV where the agents look at it, and if you look carefully, some of them are in key places, even in the movies, right? So New York City was one location, Ego was one location, right?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
did see that.
So Sakar was another location. So it's like key place in the movie. Asgard was another one. So it's like, why
Titan.
do that? Titan, so the home of Thanos, right?
Thanos,
You know, right?
and the
So
Eternals. Yeah.
and the Eternals, right? So what is that all about? And then so it's either one of two things. Either it's like, okay, trying to disrupt the timeline, so it creates all these fractured timelines. It She could be working for someone to prevent Ragnarok. Maybe that's her goal. Maybe it's like, hey, if I just blow up this timeline, then Ragnarok won't happen. It could be that, but it also could be to destroy the TVA by making them handle like 1,000 emergencies, right? You saw them all running into portals. I guess they're going to all these places to try to stop all the damage she's doing. And right, and then there's nobody left at home. And then what do? You go there and go kill the time lizards or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing it spitballing.
No, it makes sense to me because yeah, we did see the Loki purposely
Yeah.
set off these different time. I don't know what you call them,
Well, they were
devices.
reset charges, and then
They
she
were
created
reset.
the time portals, yeah, to
Yeah,
send them
and
Yo,
to
it
the
also
they
lets you know
TVA.
first
they
it was
like
strategically.
they killed a lot of time variant people. Like they had a lot of charges. I'm
Oh
assuming
yeah,
they got each time charge from a group of a unit, right? I'm
Hmm.
like, damn, there's a lot of those. How many did you kill?
Yeah.
Jesus, that's crazy. So like way beyond what we've seen in the show. So that must have been a hell of a charge they set off. But obviously,
Yeah,
you saw the branching paths and everything.
yeah. So you can see, that's when they couldn't deal with all of it at once. It seems like
Yeah,
the TVA is a kind of established to deal with one variant or one branch at a time. We saw that incident from the first episode when they with the kabooey or whatever kind of bubblegum that it was
yeah,
that was left behind. So they're able to only do that. But what we see now is all of these at the same time. Everybody is going to just start rushing to whatever timeline it is to stop it. And I don't know if we're going to just assume that we're going to start following different people from the timeline, or is it Loki is able to travel through different timelines because he just went and followed Lady Loki Enchantress.
yeah.
So I don't know if it's to try to stop her, and then we realize like, no, I'm actually trying to help people, or whatever it is, and the TVA is the real bad guys, and he's going to learn through her. So I don't know, but I kind of like the fact that I don't know, and it keeps my interest with that. So yeah, was there any other points that what you guys wanted to talk about? Because even though it was like 40 minutes or 50 minutes long, it seemed to go by really quickly.
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really have too much more to add. I did think it was better, but I don't know if they're gonna go down because I would be kind of like, at least for me, disappointed if they're like, okay, now we got to fix all these individual time variants. I think that'd be kind of a pointless, waste of time.
Mhm.
So I hope they just try to just go for whatever the source is. And obviously at the end we saw Loki go into that that door. So it was like, where is he going?
Right.
Where is he going to end up? So I'm hoping that the show just picks up with him, and then we get like a big solution to everything instead of trying to just like put band-aids on every little thing, because we only have like 4 more episodes to go. Yeah, so it's like we can't be just going off on these crazy ass tangents.
So I
Yeah.
have a question, and it's going to be for the panel. Where do you guys think that Loki and Enchantress went? Like, if you could
I,
guess one place.
I thought it was New York because that's kind of what we saw in the trailers previously.
Oh, I didn't
I
see the
could,
trailer. Sorry.
yeah. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I just get the feeling they're going to go to Asgard. Just to, they both have a connection to Asgard,
yeah.
so
I
that's
think
what I think.
he's gonna end up chasing her through different times
Yeah,
and places. It's not gonna be one like New York will be a place, and Asgard. Maybe they end up on Titan.
yeah.
And other key places that we've seen and some we haven't.
Yeah, because I initially I thought that maybe they'll just go back to the TVA part, the headquarters or whatever that place is called. Um, but you guys bring up good points.
Yeah. Anybody else? Again, I have too much. I like the episode, but there's not enough. It was a lot of setup too, so I can't speculate too much on what's going to happen next. All I know is I am glad to see that. By the way, just a quick thing, because the ending of the episode took place in Alabama, right? So in my completely open here, I don't know a lot about the South, right? So I was under the assumption that Alabama is a landlocked state, right? So I see this big flood. I'm like, what? How's that possible? And I looked at the map, like, oh, at the very, very bottom, it's right near the Gulf of Mexico. All right, there we go. You know, but by the way, you notice how they cheaped out though, right? They had that big ass storm at night, so you can't see too much. You know, like, and then there was this other part where Owen Wilson's talking to Homegirl in her office. They got the drapes. You can see little cars once in a while, but I'm like, oh, they put the drapes in because they want to save on budget, you know?
Oh yeah,
so those little things. It's like I'm like, come on, man, trying to save money here, you know?
You reminded me of something. Remember, I mentioned about how Mobius could be a good person. So one of the reasons why I thought about that is because during the whole Alabama hurricane scene, it's like he told one of his officers, he's like, hey, don't frighten these people more than they already are. Like, they're already going through enough.
Yeah.
Like, so that's another reason why I thought, oh, maybe he's a good person. He's going to be
that's
like
true. Yeah, because the guy was like, they're gonna die anyway, and he's like, so. It's like, don't treat them like shit.
It's like, don't treat them like that. See, I'd be the asshole. I'd be like, I'm like, they're gonna die. Who fucking cares?
You would have announced it and started screaming, "You're dying!"
No, I wouldn't. No, because obviously that would hamper my job, so I'm not gonna do that.
But it doesn't disrupt the timeline, as we.
But it disrupts my job. You know, it's like when E3 opened up to the public. It's like, yeah, these assholes running around is hampering my job. You know,
reset. But another really interesting point, the series kind of connects to all of the previous movies, obviously, that we know, and that could maybe be reference points to what we'll see in the later episodes. For example, this one, it connects directly to the Rocks cart, where that's the big store that they went into during that whole thing, and that is actually from Iron Man. So you can see right there. That was from Iron Man. This one was from, remember the Revengers from Thor Ragnarok? And it actually has it down, everything that they did. So the code name was Revengers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You got that.
By the way, just real quick, I call BS on that Rocks card thing. Like, I'm sorry. I know this is a very specific Tony thing right now, by the way, just for the show. Because I'm seeing the front of the store, they got this giant ass hologram. The dudes have name tags that are like moving letters. I'm like, 2050, you're not going to see this. I guarantee you we will not have holograms like that, and it'll still be little stickers for nameplates, even in 2050. You know, get out of here with that. It's kind of like in Minority Report. When I saw it, I'm like, we're not going to have that shit by then.
Look at the tech in the store. The tech in the store wasn't impressive at all.
Yeah, so
it looked like a Home Depot.
Yeah. So I'm like the tech in the store, I believe, but I'm like all that other like holograms like that. No, it's not gonna happen. Get out of here. Again, it's just a little thing. I'm like, because I hate when stories do that. It's like, oh, here's the near future, but look at all this crazy shit we're gonna have in 20 years. We're not gonna have that, you know. And again, I'm saying this obviously because I'm from the 20th century. Remember when I grew up, we were promised flying cars, robots. We don't got none of that shit. Aruba, that's all we got. We got Aruba.
We have robots.
You know, I don't have a Boston Dynamics robot in my fucking.
You don't have the robots, but we have the robots.
Yeah, and by the way, technically, I know we have flying cars too, but they're not commonplace. You know. Anyway, that's just a side tangent. By the way, but I will say I am glad we don't have flying cars. You know, I mean, people be crashing all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know? Where's the hoverboards at though? Anyway.
And there was right here when they had the whole jet ski. With Mobius was looking at the magazine, and this is from issue 264 in the Thor issue, which is the part when I think Loki was actual president, and he was ruling Asgard. And as we know, because we've seen in the trailer, there's an image of Loki as the president, so we may see more of President Loki. So I don't know. So is there anyone has any other theories or anything else?
The only thing I was wondering is like this whole thing with Enchantress, that people thinking like, oh, that's Lady Loki. My whole thing is, what would be the incentive for Enchantress to impersonate Loki? Like, what does she benefit?
I
don't
don't
think
think
she's
she's
impersonating Loki.
impersonating him. I think they
Yeah.
made a mistake.
Yeah,
They
that's what
just
I think.
thought she was him. Like, she didn't announce
Okay.
anything. You don't even see her face till she takes the cloak off.
So that's just more fan theory that, oh, that has to be
Yeah.
the Lady Loki that we're all expecting, but it's really Enchantress.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
So this kind of makes me wonder the fact that the Loki is running around killing everyone to begin with. Is that why they got this Loki so quickly and captured him? Like if the other Lokis wasn't running around doing that, then they would have just let Loki live in his next timeline and been happy? Or is it just all a convenient story plot?
Well, the thing is, the other Lokis aren't up to anything, are they?
Well, you have because there's two. There's two Lokis that you have the one that's not Lady, and you have Lady Enchantress Loki,
Yeah.
and then you have the one who gave the bubblegum. Those are not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. By the way, I don't like calling her Lady Enchantress Loki. It's just Enchantress. That's it. It's just Enchantress. Not Loki at all whatsoever. But no, that is a good question. It's like, how come this Loki? But then again, this Loki didn't have any machinations at the moment. He was just wound up there after he, the cosmic cube touched his, his foot.
Well, yeah, but then they came and physically got him. They knew where he was at.
But the other ones, they know how to stay ahead of the time. Remember, this Loki didn't even know about the time variance until later. Yeah. The other ones do, obviously. Yeah.
Like the TVA just happened to pick him up because he was easier.
Yeah. And you're right. They had to get the plot going somehow.
So what do you guys think about the fact that they had Loki wear a jacket that says variant on the back? And he doesn't believe he's the variant, but they have him identified as variant. What do you guys think about that?
I thought if he knew that he was a variant, he just thought it was, mean.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought he's like, yeah, I think he came to that conclusion. Yeah. He's just the most powerful one, or he's like the smartest one, or
because remember there was that whole scene when he was crying when he was reading the files and learning like all of his people are dead.
Yeah.
So,
which is funny. They're not all dead.
Well, like 9,000, almost 10,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was weird in the bullet points of the file. It said entire civilization destroyed. I'm like, nah, there's some left. I mean, whatever, half the ship survived, right? Because Thanos killed the other half of whoever got out of there. Yeah. So that sucked.
It's like a quarter.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean,
it's a quarter left.
And they established what was it, Ragnarok, Alaska? I don't know where the hell they did it. They had their own little city.
They put it in like Norway or somewhere, wherever they met Odin at the beginning of Ragnarok. Remember, he's like, "This is home," wherever he was hanging out.
No, it was in Infinity War. Remember, that's not Infinity War, Endgame, or one of the two. When they came back to have to go
the beginning of Thor
Thor
Ragnarok, they go to find Odin, and he's not at the old age home because they tore it down. And then Doctor Strange takes them to where Odin, and he's just hanging out in Norway. And he said, "Look at this place. This is home."
Right, but then after the snap, they have to then go travel to get Thor back again. Is that the same location, Norway?
No, Hulk goes there, and late in Endgame, remember Thor, Hulk, and Rocket go to get him. He's hanging out in Norway. That's where they
put him in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Because it was like also in New York. It was weird. I don't know where they were located.
No, he was. Yeah, he was there. Like I just said, Alaska because it looked like the northern part of the hemisphere.
There was ice. It's Alaska.
Yeah. So, oh shit, I don't even know what I was gonna say.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I think I'm wondering, I'm just wondering where the hell are they going? Are they going? Because I was like firm in my belief that they're going back to the TVA headquarters, because that's why all the people, we're going to all the different timelines. That means that the headquarters is almost empty. I would assume, except for that one dude that keeps seeing Loki and stole his juice cup and and squeezed it out. But yeah, curious to see where it's gonna go.
It seems like it's gonna probably be it could be the main ones. I mean, the most exciting would be like Warmare and the other ones that you guys mentioned that offer something different than say New York City.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like to see them going around the MCU a little bit, but again, not go too crazy. Just make like one episode, like you get the grand tour or something.
well, they have to go a little crazy because
Yeah,
remember, this is the multiverse is basically
Yeah, maybe
opening.
because they gotta have at least one episode where they go all in with the budget. So maybe that'll be that. Who knows?
The last episode.
I wonder because in the trailers, like some of the destruction you see in the trailers, like so there was one where Loki stands up and he's in a destroyed New York. And I was thinking like, what if Tony Stark never stopped that nuke, right? Would New York look like that?
See, and that bleeds into the series that's coming, the What If series.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, and then there was where the theory started with Lady Loki. You see a woman sitting on like this purple environment, like it looks like a destroyed planet, and it kind of looked. I kind of thought it was Titan, but I wasn't sure. Like I was like, oh, it could be anywhere. I don't know. You're just in space. But it's possible that she succeeded and fractured everything. Because how the hell do you stop all that? What she did? How do you do that?
It's too much. You open up too many timelines. It creates too much chaos, and then we don't know which timeline she's in because they all open at once. So there's a lot of possibilities. So I think it's a strong show. So yay! Oh, and also,
Race.
We're
and
serious.
It should be mentioned that Miss Minutes will have a much larger part in the series.
I'm telling you, she's the actual bad guy.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Oh.
Well, that would be good. I like Tara Strong. We need more Tara Strong in the MCU. So yeah, that seems to be everything. I think we covered. So any last words? Any last shout outs? Sorry, Tony?
Yeah. Go check me out on Twitter at Romudeth, ROMUDTH. In the bio, you're gonna see links to all the places I write for: Laptop Mag, PC Mag, and Tom's Guide. And also check out the Throwdown Show where I'm there with Chris and Carlos every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, talking about them video games. We just wrapped up a big E3 week, so go check out all that coverage. Anywhere on YouTube, well, not everywhere on YouTube, everywhere on Earth that has a podcast app. Throwdown Show, 2 words. We're on YouTube, Twitch, and also on Twitter. And if you hit me up on Twitter, be respectful because I will block your ass if you're not. I have no mercy for fanboys. But as always, thank you for having me on, and I'm glad the show picked up for me. So I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Chris, Carlos, anything?
Yeah, pretty much what Tony said. You can follow me at Eurocar9. And thanks for having me again.
What about you, Mr. Negron? Oh, sorry, Chris.
Oh, yeah. No, I say you can follow me at Lunar Diaries on Twitter. And yeah, doing Throwdown with these two and twice a week. So check us out.
Yeah.
Negron?
Yeah, you can follow me, Telos09 on Twitter. And every once in a while, we have a wrestling podcast, Friday Night WrestleCast. You can hear me on there as well. But yeah, definitely make sure you check out Koalition.com. That's with the K. And enjoy all the content we have to offer.
All right. And also, lastly, on the site, really quickly, we have the entire cast interview that I was able to do with the Loki series. We'll be having individual ones. I just wrapped up a Black Widow interview, and we'll talk about Black Widow, that movie. Yay!
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Been hearing good things about it, so looking forward to watching it.
Well, yay! I can be the Debbie Downer. So we have that coming up. We also have more interviews, and we have Scarlett Johansson interview coming up as well as the Fast 9 cast. So that should be all fun as well. And also, please stop sending me death threats, because
what? Who's fucking with you?
Fans are like sending me death threats because Kevin Feige said that Scarlett Johansson, Natasha, Black Widow, is dead. And all I did was just transcribe what he said, and they're like, "Die! We're coming for you." I'm like, I don't control. I don't write for any of them.
Yeah, like, yo, don't shoot the messenger. Come on.
No,
guys.
I don't write for anyone. So
don't shoot the messenger or the person that said it.
Yeah, don't shoot Kevin Feige either.
Or just learn to read.
Yeah, or how about that?
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, so have a great day, afternoon, evening, and we'll be back again next week with episode 3. Loki will be somewhere. So thank you
Somewhere in
guys.
time.
Somewhere in time, in space.
Yes.
So yeah, enjoy
Later,
everyone.
people.
Thank you. Later.
Peace.